Honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed about that question, but you thought obviously it's good. I enjoy every day of it. We're giving our supporters some joy and some belief and some hope.
You know, there's no law. There's no one's going to die.
Yeah, bin it, mate. Just bin the whole idea. Just forget about it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a No Nonsense podcast. Business end of the season, will some call it. I call it the school end of the season.
Nice. Why is that?
Well, I guess the business end is kind of the last bit, but this particular is always a week where things become mathematically impossible. You know, before this, they were improbable. Like say Arsenal were in the league, but this week there's been some mathematical absolutes being made. I mean, first of all, shout out to PSG, Will, mathematically confirmed as winners of the coveted Ligue 1 once again.
One down, two more to go. Probably they've won the French Cup already. Maybe
I'd imagine they're still in the French Cup. I don't know for sure, but they'll take this and they'll bring this into the Champions League when they'll bring it home finally. Yeah. In the Premier League, there was a few mathematical things happening as well. It is officially now a 3-horse race. Aston Villa are out of the title race with their draw against Chelsea. Man United are out of the probably the biggest prize, really. Forget the league, forget the Champions League, forget the treble, forget the double treble. It's the Champions League's places, the qualification for the Champions League. That's the biggest prize.
That's
the money.
The big money. You know, look, it's only like 20 million in the difference between fourth and first, I think.
Well, they are not going to be either of those things this year. They are now mathematically out of the top four race after drawing at home to Burnley, to the mighty Burnley. What else we have? Sheffield mathematically condemned to the Championship after a 5-1 drubbing to Newcastle.
I think they are, I could be wrong here now, but I think they are near 3 figures in goals conceded this season.
Yeah, there was a graphic there in Match Today. I think they're on 3 goals off the most goals conceded. I want to say Derby, but everyone goes to Derby. I think it was someone else though, maybe the 93-94 season where they conceded 100 goals, and I think Sheffield were on 97, and there's 3 games left. So the odds of them,
when you really think about how many goals conceded that is, considering the amount of games in the season, it's actually amazing.
And I'm not sure, but I think possibly in 93-94 that was when it was 44 games or something.
Yeah, it's a longer season.
100 games in 38, 100 goals in 38 games would be an achievement, but I'd say the bookies probably stop taking bets on that if they have any brains about them. So, was any other mathematical equations squared off? We
also had Everton confirmed mathematically that they will not be getting relegated this year. Not this year. Despite all the deductions and how hard you tried, it's going to have to be next year, Premier League. Yeah,
they're heading the other way from Sheffield. So, there's a few more things still to play for, but some of the more interesting ones, like Champions League places and relegation, are out for some. We'll be talking about the NLD. Well, I feel like we did a bit in this during this season. That was everywhere. Everyone started calling it NLD.
We did. We had an episode called the hashtag NLD or something like that. And it did terribly because no one was actually searching that term. I don't think we ever used it again.
There was nothing like that this time, but we'll be talking about the NLD, the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham. We'll be talking about Liverpool's ill-fated trip to West Ham. Man United, as we say, they were mathematically out, so we'll have to give them a little bit of a post-mortem, I guess, on their season so far.
Yeah, for anyone who just tunes into the Man United episodes, plus 10 your way through the episode. We'll start talking about them soon.
Yeah. We'll also be doing some Champions League later on in the week. That's coming back, semi-finals of that, plus the Europa League, and that's usually when I tune into the Europa League semi-final stages, and I talk like an expert on it. If you want to hear me talk like an expert on games I've watched all year, you got to become an ultra, my friend. You got to click the link in the description of this episode. Join the growing number of ultras who are getting the bonus episode every week, $4.50 a month. Like I say, great time to get on. Business end of the season, it's ramping up. We got Champions League, Europa League semi-finals, and we have the Euros coming in the summer. I think we're less than 50 days away from the Euros. Will.
Yeah, I saw that. That if this was coming up to Christmas and you saw that, you'd think, oh, fuck, that's coming quick. So that's how you know.
Exactly. Think of it as in you have to do Christmas shopping. How much time would you want to give before you got, oh God, I got to, do this thing.
Sign up to this Patreon.
I got to sign up right now. I got to sign up. There's not enough time left.
You don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss my various international team 11s coming up, do you? Come on. Think about it. So yeah, we had Arsenal versus Tottenham. I mean, we mentioned there early on the season, big game, huge game, two teams going well. This time, very much the opposite. Arsenal were going well still, but it didn't feel like they were going anywhere. It felt like, they'd kind of secured
they
their
can only do so much.
Even though they're top of the league, it does feel like they're going to finish second. And Tottenham, on the other hand, are just trying to put 2 wins back to back, it feels like. They can't seem to get a run of form together. There wasn't much in the way of like, which way is this game going to go? The only thing that might have made you think that was that Arsenal, I guess Arsenal have a pretty poor record away to Tottenham. Yeah,
it's like we say about it's the same when United play Liverpool. Everything else goes out the window because the stadium and everything else, it's a whole different thing. Nothing else actually matters going into that game.
Of course, what did matter is Tottenham's very poor record from set pieces.
Yes. Did you see the picture going around? There was a video of the Arsenal players celebrating after the game, and people noticed this big flag in the background that they must bring around with them, which has their mantra, basics. And each letter stands for something else. You can't see B and A, but it's like C is like commitment, or I is intensity. S, set pieces, written on a flag that they bring around with them from game to game.
Yeah, the basics of set pieces, don't get beaten on near post. Is that not one of the... I don't know if that's a set piece thing, but yeah, it was just one of those unlucky ones that Højbjerg seemed to close his eyes as he had the ball into his own net. It happens, it happens, but it's a trend for Tottenham. I think it was the last 9 games they've conceded something. I don't know. They put to Ange Postecoglou and looked very sad after the game when he was talking about it.
Yeah, usually means something.
Because apparently in the first 17 they didn't concede from a corner or some of that, from a set piece, and now it's gone the other way. So it kind of point to like, you've lost the dressing room a little bit, Ange, here.
They're not listening to you anymore, are they?
They had chances, Tottenham. Like if you tuned in at halftime, saw 3-0 to Arsenal, like, oh God, that's poor now. No fighting them at all. This is obviously just one good team, one bad team, simple as. But they had some penalty calls, Tottenham, that weren't given. The most blatant one was probably the trip on Kulusevski.
Yes. It's one of the ones that you always see. And to be fair, you always see given. It's not one of the ones that you're like, it could go either way. Generally, when a lad is running, and then it's when he takes the few steps as he's going down, that man's been tripped up.
He 100% was tripped. But is there anything to be said for intentional or unintentional?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I don't know anymore, or probably ever, to be honest. Is that part of the referee's decision making? Is it like, it was intentional, therefore it's a normal coming together? Yeah. Or is it like, well, he was tripped, so you've stopped the goal? I mean, I think because he wasn't going towards the goal.
Yeah.
He was in the box, obviously, so it would have been penalty, but he was going kind of away from the goal. So maybe they've thought, it's not really... He didn't stop a definite goal. Maybe it could have become something, but we'll never know.
Yeah, I think it's because it doesn't have the element of panic that a penalty usually has when they're going towards the goal. So he's tripped him because he was scared. Yeah. Going away from the goal. He's like, it's probably just a coming together.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional. I think he was definitely tripped because you can see how his ankles were clipped and he stumbles. I think, though, one of the two kickers is Maddison, who, as we know, likes to be the main man in every situation, comes in and does one of the most pathetic dives I've ever seen right afterwards. So the ref's like, all right, I was on the fence, but get up out of that now. I'm not having that.
You're all trying to get penalties. That's what's happening, isn't it?
He weakened Kulusevski's case with that flop in the box because he was like, he just, you have to see, it's hard to even describe. He just kind of, both legs straightened out and he fell over with kind of no one really near him. But the next thing, whenever the referee on the pitch, this is what stopped those cowards in the VAR bunker. The ball, Arsenal moved the ball up the other end of the pitch and there's a goal. Now if VAR intervene, they have to chalk off a goal. And they are not going to do that. Yeah. Never are they going to change a game that drastically if they don't have to.
No. They do not want to listen to the next week of the Paul Mersons and the Roy Keanes and the Graham Souness's and the TalkSport guys going, oh, you're not allowed to score goals now. They're taking away our goals. Yes. They're never going to let that happen.
These woke VAR officials are cancelling goals. That's what they're doing.
They prefer penalties than goals. They've confirmed it.
Yeah. So once the goal goes in, there's absolutely zero chance that VAR are going to go all the way back and go cancel off that goal. I don't know if they even have that authority to cancel off a goal that's happened in real play.
Yeah, we saw before the Liverpool Tottenham game. Or was that weird rule where it went out for a throw-in or something? So they were like, oh, well, that last thing's gone now.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, it's an action ago or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a play ago or something. So, yeah, I was convinced that it wouldn't happen. It didn't. Whether it should be or not, I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, who knows? Who could tell?
It comes down to if the intentionality of it matters or not, I suppose. But if it was just based on was he tripped, he was tripped. But I think he has Madison has some questions answered there because that was bad afterwards. The other one they had then was the Van de Ven offside, marginal, very marginal.
Yeah, it's. I wonder what the league will look like next year with the semi-automated offsides.
Yeah,
because it feels like the controversial, very close offside kind of went away for a while.
It did, yeah.
But it's back in a big way in the last few weeks.
It can just happen that it coincidentally just doesn't happen. It's just like there isn't millimeter offsides or spotted or there isn't goals from them, you know. But the danger is always there. You want to draw a line and you're looking at home going, oh, I think he's on. And then they call it off and you go, all right. Phew.
We didn't even talk about it because there were so much other things last week in the United Coventry game, but the line that was drawn, and people pointed out, the line went through Wan-Bissaka's foot rather than at the end of his foot because they were obviously just panicked and drawn the line. Yeah. So you can never really have too much faith in the lines anymore.
You still hear it though. I think I was watching Champions League there 2 weeks ago and there was a really quick decision on VAR. And I don't know who was on our team. He was like, finally, a quick decision, from the VAR. It's like... I think different people want different things. Some people don't want it there at all. It's like they want it to be an invisible thing that's happening that doesn't affect the game whatsoever. Other people want the right decision. I'd probably be in that camp, to be honest. And then other people, like I say, don't want it at all. I think it should be up to like a bit of cheating here and there. It's part of the game. So I think people want completely different things, and you can't have them all. You can't have one where it's quick and accurate because it's like it's granular detail. You want to look down and say, was he offside? And meanwhile, you have people go, come on, get on the game. Boo. We're trying to get the right decisions. Like, well, just do it faster. It's whatever. So, I mean, yeah, that was a tough one for Tom to probably stomach. And then the Mickey Van de Ven one right afterwards, it was tough to be going in 3-0 down at halftime because maybe they felt like they didn't deserve it, but Ange Postecoglou wasn't really doing that after the game. He was kind of saying it's unacceptable. The defense is not good enough. I mean, it's not kind of how they play though. It's not like their footballing identity. No.
Again, like you said, if you looked up the score at halftime and you saw 3-0 Arsenal, I don't think many people would have gone, I bet Tottenham were giving them a good go though. They probably went, they're doing the thing again, I'd say. They're halfway up the pitch, are they?
Yeah, I bet no one thought they were parking the bus and 3-0 down. That's mad. That this Tottenham team can see 3 goals. I mean, they do this sometimes where they have they clock different players at different speeds, and Darren Nunez was clocked at one side. Jose Benny was clocked at one speed. Like, two attacking players, they were clocked at like over 30 something odd kilometers an hour. But the current holder is Mickey Van de Ven, who is fast, but was obviously clocked running back towards his own goal at like 36 kilometers an hour.
Not what you want ever from your defender. Your defenders should never be clocked that fast.
Well, it's interesting that the other players were like attacking players trying to, break the offside or whatever. And like now the current faster is the one running back towards his own goal. I mean, the other one, he was also high on the list, is Kyle Walker, that's kind of his thing. He doesn't do a lot of defending, but he can always get back. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of been the way they do it all year. So I don't know. I probably would have gone with the we were unlucky. But he did kind of say about the referees. We should play the clip.
What matters is that, as I've said all along, games are not refereed at the stadium anymore. They're refereed somewhere else. And no one will convince me otherwise. It's not even re-refereed. It's refereed somewhere else. It's why I don't celebrate goals anymore. I've got to wait for somebody down the road. So I just don't think referees in the stadium anymore have that authority they used to make decisions. They just go, you know what, I'll just wait till see what the bloke down the road thinks. And it's a shame. I don't like it, but it's here to stay, and I've got to accept it like everyone else.
It seems like he's lost the love of giving out about the referees because he's said it all already. Do you know? He's had all the quotes about the refs and the VAR this year, positive and negative.
Yeah, because he had you just got to get over it, didn't he? Wasn't that you just got to accept the decision?
Game, lads, relax.
He did.
It happens to all of us.
He did say, look, I don't want to even get into the decisions, to be honest. They're not even, the decisions aren't even happening here. Like I say, they're the cowards in the VAR bunker. I'm pretty sure I've made that joke before this season, that someone else has said this, like, where are they? Come out and face like a man, you cowardice VAR referees. Are they still in Stockley Park, or are they somewhere else now?
You never really hear that anymore.
No.
I feel like maybe you do, and I'm numb to it. I don't hear it anymore. But it feels like they don't say it anymore for fear of people going there.
They're not in Stockley Park. They're somewhere else. Because I thought I remember them saying, we're not doing that anymore. They're in the stadium. And now he's saying they're not even in the stadium. So I don't know where they are. They're in some kind of floating satellites for their safety.
Yeah, they're orbiting the moon.
Arsenal were cruising 3-0 at half time. And then David Raya decided he was going to just try and chip it over Romero, who for some reason was in the centre forward position. Again, that high line,
Well, speaking of Romero, again, he got that goal. He had a lot of chances, and after the game, Ange said, I wish I could get a bit of what he has into the rest of them, talking about the Spurs players.
Yeah, no, he was all action. And he got the goal. And he finished it well, took it well. But I mean, David Raya was meant to be the answer, the solution to Ramsdale. I don't remember being that bad, to be honest. Like after the game, lots of people clipped it and put it on X and stuff, of Arteta coming out and like hugging him. I tried to like kiss his chest at one point. He was like really affectionately like, oh, what a good job. It's like, he fucking nearly brought you back into the game. Like he kicked that ball out, chipped it away. Romero kicks it. Obviously then the stadium, what looked like was going to empty out at half time is now, going again. And then they get another goal from the penalty, which again, refereeing opinion differing on a what looked like a pretty obvious foul, certainly obvious to Gary Neville, who was calling for the penalty. I wonder what his reason for that was. Anyway, they get the penalty. Now it's 3-2, and then they get a few more chances. Richardson's on; he's causing havoc. I mean, I don't know. And look, he gets away with this. David Raya gets away with this, and there hasn't been like kind of season-defining mistakes from David Raya.
Yeah.
Like, there hasn't been a game where they lost 1-0 to City and that's why they lost the league. But I mean, the one against Liverpool a couple of months ago, they won this game 3-1, but I think it's Gabriel is like shepherding the ball in, and Raya's like waiting for the ball to roll up into his arms. It's like Diaz is clearly about to like get around. He's like feverishly trying to get around Gabriel. He's holding him off like, this is not going to hold forever. And it gets put in. And like, again, it's like, whatever, goals make a mistake. Like, the whole thing at the start of like, oh, this guy, he's an upgrade on Ramsdale. Remember we had the poll? And everyone's going mad about the poll?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's like, it hasn't cost it in a major way, but it's definitely like being a weakness in this. So just again, because it was such an issue that they had to change the goal and all that, I just think it was a mad kind of lapse of concentration from.
Yeah, it's bizarre to see because, like you said, it was a whole big thing of like, right, let's replace Ramsdale. That's the improvement we're going into this season with, is the keeper who he did have a poor end of the season last year, but he was pretty good. Like when they were buying Raya or getting Raya on loan, everyone's like, that's bizarre. What are you doing that for? This seems unnecessary. And to be fair, it's not really a circus anymore. No one really talks about Ramsdale. He's good. Everyone's accepted it.
No, he's completely eclipsed him. Yeah, he does things at this in game, and it's like, is this guy the answer? I mean, is he still on loan from Brentford? I guess he's going to technically go back to Brentford in the summer, and then Arsenal have a decision to make it permanent. And I feel like he probably will, Arteta. And it's like, I think he has a big mistake, the season-defining mistake in him. I think he's been getting away with it all season long, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the defense in front of him is so good, and Arsenal have been scoring so much that it's like, yeah, make a mistake if you want. Whereas last year it was like, that decides the game. But yeah, you do feel like, look, what if he does that when it's 0-0? What if he does that in the 90th minute? It's his mistake in that game came at a lucky time in that Tottenham didn't have just enough time to turn around. They came very close though, but yeah, I don't know. You'd be wary of it over the next 4 games or 3 games.
Yeah. If it does come to that, and I mean, I say it wasn't maybe season defining, but there was that one against Bayern as well, where he was too close to Gabriel, and then they got that goal, and that's what one of the goals, I suppose, that knocked him out of the Champions League as well. But there's kind of no talk about it. It's like, well, obviously he's a better goalie than Ramsdale. It's like, maybe he is, but he's definitely not, the answer to it. I wouldn't say he'll be gazumped.
No,
they'll be gazumped by Real Madrid in the summer, for Raya's signing.
No,
so yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was, and like I said, that let them back in the game. But I think as well as watching Arsenal, there is this kind of sense of like futility about the whole thing as well. It's like you're 3-0 up, but you're in the back of your mind thinking, it's like there's bad news coming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like you know that like on Wednesday you have a meeting and it's not good. I mean, you still have to come into work and it can always get worse. You can bring that meeting up, but like, I mean, that no matter what you do, you're going to have to go in, and you could call in sick, but then it's going to be a phone call, and like, it's going to happen, And I think it's like, that's when the concentration dips, because it's in the back of your mind, like, oh no, this is all going to come to a head,
Yeah, and it's bizarre to see, because again, they went up as City were playing later that day, and they were playing Nottingham Forest, but there's still that sense like, well, but maybe, you never know. And then, City done, game over. That's just, that can only happen so many times, I think. A team can only see that happen so many times before they're like, what's the point in all this? This is no use. We can't affect the league.
I hate the way that City always seem to have these games in hand. All the way back to like the 13-14 season. It's like they have this ability to run teams down, like slowly reel them in. It's like logically, it must be killer. That like, oh, you're ahead for now, but they have that game in hand. Oh, who's against Nottingham Forest? Oh, tough one. Yeah. Jeez. I hope they can handle Gibbs White. He doesn't run riot on them, and it's like, oh. They'll
be playing that at 8:00 of a Sunday when no one's watching.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Tottenham, I don't know if they're mathematically out of the race for top 4, but it's looking less likely for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Aston Villa drew, so maybe that's a bit of a lifeline for them. But for Arsenal, I mean, they keep going. They go again. But, for Liverpool, I guess the other team in that 3-horse race, again, mathematically, still at it. So we can't say they're not, but they, once again, they go into a game and immediately go behind, and try and do it the hard way.
It feels like everything we've been saying for years is actually true now. It never was before this, but now it's true.
Yeah. I mean, we should start by saying that they were kind of robbed in this game. And really, they've been robbed a lot this year in different things. Again, I'll bit of behind the scenes. I was looking up old Arsenal big games to catch Raya in the act of costing big games at moments. And there was that moment that happened against Liverpool. I don't know if you even remember it. It's the Odegaard handball. Remember that bizarre handball that was kind of flicked Salah kind of flicked it by him and he slipped and his hand kind of came out. It was like, oh, was it intentional? Was it not? I was like, oh man, that was an Anfield and they drew 1-1. I was like, oh man, like that was a huge moment in the season, and then in this game, for anybody who didn't see it, it was 2-2 and West Ham were like running on the clock and there's a set piece and the goalkeeper grabs the ball and he's lying on the ground, he's falling all over the ground, holding his leg and his head and whatever. And Anthony Taylor, the ref's like, get up, come on, get up, play on.
I've seen this a million times.
Like we all know what's happening. The physio for West Ham isn't moving. He's like, all right, I mean, this is he's time wasting. I know what this routine is. I mean, this is what
I'm not running on the pitch again. That happened to be my first week here. I'm never doing that again.
Well, we all know what happened to that physio at Chelsea all those years ago.
I forgot about that. She went to do her job.
Her name.
She was fucking torn apart for it.
Yeah, a bit of naivety there on her part. What was her name?
We were cheating, obviously.
Yeah, but this is it. Jose Mourinho was like, "Why would you run the pitch? He's clearly time wasting." I mean, do you see the name over the door? It says Jose Mourinho. What do you think is happening here? And she got sacked for it. Isn't that right?
Something along those lines, or I think she had such a bad experience with it that she left, or it was something like that.
Yeah. He screamed at her, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is sexist. This is it was kind of a sex row at the time." But I think to be fair to him, he was just so shocked that someone didn't know he was cheating. It's like, I mean, come on.
He would have screamed at a man just as much.
I think he would. He would have screamed at a small child or an insect the same way, So yeah, the West Ham's physio isn't moving. The goalkeeper's like, all right, I've got as much out of this as I can before getting yellow cards, and he gingerly gets up and players kind of, walk away. And then he does a thing where the goalie's like, spin the ball out, throw the ball out and then spin it on the spot. And he goes down to adjust his sock just to waste a little bit more time. Yeah. He doesn't realize that Cody Gakpo was standing right there. And he's like, he just throw the ball to me? Meanwhile, Anthony Taylor just turned his back and is looking the other way. And then
this happened a few weeks
ago.
Runs. Why do the referees keep turning their back on the goal?
This is exactly what happened.
The goal is there. Anything could happen.
Eyes on the ball, Taylor. Come on. So yeah, he turns his back. Gakpo runs in and stops short of like kicking it in the goal because he's thinking, is this real? Is this happening? Did I not hear a whistle? There must be something I'm missing here. West Ham fans or Liverpool players or whoever like scream or like get excited at this. Taylor whips around, it's like, oh shit, what's happening? And there's like some reason where Gakpo now has the ball and the goalie's complaining like, oh, what? I'm kicking the ball out. You can't be doing that. Taylor instinctively blows his whistle because he thinks something bad has happened and then runs in and is like, no, the goalie's injured, aren't you, goalie? And he goes like, yeah, I guess injured. I guess your shin, isn't it? What, you were touching your shin there? I saw you touching your shin. It's like I was using my socks. Like, shut up. I'm trying to save both our asses here, Take cool. And he calls the West Ham physio on. He's like, come on, this man's injured. Get him on. Get some attention here.
Is there a doctor here? Yeah. This man needs some help.
This man is mildly uncomfortable. Can we get the doctor on the pitch? Yeah. I think what saved West Ham in this situation was that one, Gakpo didn't kick the ball in the goal fast enough.
I can't believe he couldn't just rifle it in. I can't believe a ball lands at your feet in the box and your first instinct, even if you're offside, you fucking try score anyway. You try do something fancy then.
Yeah, because he just kind of rolled it like maybe a meter in front and Gakpo was probably like a meter and a half away from us.
Yeah.
From the goalie. It was like, and he just ran up towards us and like kind of touched it and then the whistle blew. He didn't like just, if he ran and like say drew on it straight away and lashed it in just in time, again, then the VAR would have had a decision to make. But because nothing happened and then Taylor blew his whistle, but like it was a monumental mistake. 2-2.
Yeah.
And they're still
huge.
And they asked Klopp after the game about it. He didn't care. He just was like, I don't know, man.
He's done. He's so beyond done. If that happened to Klopp a year ago, in the title race essentially, you'd be hearing about it for the rest of your days. The Liverpool fans would be talking about it for the rest of their days. It just feels like the whole club they're just done. They know it's not happening.
Yeah.
Klopp leaving and the players aren't good enough anymore. It's all just falling apart and everyone, I think, is just ready to move on.
Yeah. And they had a lot of chances in that game. Obviously, they scored 2 goals. They went behind and they went 2-2. I went 2-1 and then conceded another one. That kept hitting the post. And I was thinking, they must be like high up on that list of teams who hit the post this year. And I looked it up, Will, as you want to do. And then another.
We're getting good at looking stuff up. Yeah, this is episode like 40. We would just say that. No way we're looking it up.
Quote of the week. That was the whole ethos of Nonsense Pod. We don't look things up. We just kind of just say it. Just hoof it long. No nonsense, you know. But it is quite no nonsense to just do one Google search because the stats are there. There's literally a hit woodwork stat on the Premier League website. I mean, like the top 5, Chelsea have a lot. They've hit the woodwork 14 times. Mm-hmm. Tottenham Hotspur, also not very good at finishing. They have hit it 17 times. They're actually drawn 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. Now look at it with Fulham and Everton. They all have 17. Number 1 is Liverpool with 24.
Wow. Great shout.
So they've hit the post or the woodwork a lot more than anybody else. And this is just in the league. I feel like in the cup competitions and the Champions League as well, they've been rattling that work all year long. It just speaks more to the finishing. You know, they're almost there, but it's really coming against them. I remember there's a year that they hit the woodwork a lot, and I looked up just because you can. 10 years ago, 13-14 season, they were also top of the hit woodwork. That was the other year that they came quite close to win the title, but didn't. They hit it 27 times. So they're like 3 more woodworks off equaling that.
Yeah, famous disastrous season.
Famous last season. And then that season, that City won, they were 3rd with 19, so like significantly less. So, I mean, the finishing is if you didn't know, fans at home, quite important to win the league.
Putting it in the net. It's not rocket science, as Sean Dyche loves to say.
Yes, not rocket science. I know we probably won't talk about it. Well, we did. No, last week, obviously, we already talked about it. You see, he's not wearing suits anymore.
Yes, and they've won 4 of their last 5 since the change, I think.
He's gone to tracksuits. He's out wearing suits, and he like referenced it. He's like, I think this is huge. This is. He talked about it himself. So that does kind of feel like some high level stuff, but maybe it is also quite simple. I don't know. The other, I suppose, incident from that game was Salah was dropped alongside Darwin Núñez, who's also dropped. And I mean, just on Gakpo, last week I said, you can't rely on Gakpo either. Apparently his wife's having a baby last week. That's why I wasn't playing. So shout out to the Gakpos on that one. But
he had a lot in his mind. I wonder he didn't lash the ball when it was thrown to him.
Well, this is it. I think if Darwin Núñez was playing this game, he definitely would have lashed it straight away. I mean, that's all you could rely on him to do.
He wouldn't have even kicked it. He would have just kept running. He would have run straight through the keeper.
Diving and heading along the floor, it would have gone straight in. But he was dropped alongside Salah, who was also dropped. We did say last week that, so maybe not so great finishing, but it's 2-2. You need a goal, and you got Mo Salah on the bench. Probably bring on 60 minutes, 70 minutes, maybe 20 minutes left. Nah, I think let's see how this plays out. I think Gakpo doesn't put one of these chances away. 80 minutes comes around, and he's going on 10 minutes of normal time left to play. Klopp goes to dab him up, hit me with that, get out there. And Salah gives kind of a half-hearted kind of all right. Klopp then comes back and says something, which no one knows he says. I think I can probably guess. He said, "What's wrong with you, man? What? What's your problem?
What the hell was that about?"
He called that a dab?
Yeah. Oh, too good to dab me up.
Oh, what? We're not bros anymore? That's essentially what he said, which, I mean, you can tell what, you can see why that would annoy Salah. If you start saying that kind of stuff. Talking about mad smack in his ear is about to go on. Salah then says, I'd assume, like 10 minutes ago and you would put me on, like, what's my problem? This is my fucking problem, He goes back and forth. Klopp probably says, do your job, that's your job, do your job.
He said, things like this are why I'm leaving. I hate this, he said.
Maybe he said, well, you had a full 90 minutes last week, pal. Didn't see a score then,
It's a real bust up when Darwin Núñez is the cooler heads prevailing and pulling Salah away.
Yeah, Darwin Núñez was like, oh, okay, I can barely understand English, but this isn't good.
Yeah. These sound angry,
Like, and he was also coming on. He was also probably thinking, well, I deserve to be dropped. Maybe we should cool it here. But he didn't seem to be too annoyed. And he did have a chance, Salah. He made a great run, and then he kind of left the ball a little bit behind. Was it Diaz or maybe it was Jota? I don't know. But he had some half chances, but didn't manage to get that all important goal. So yeah, he then walked off the pitch afterwards and doesn't return the handshake or the dab up to Klopp. Walked off the pitch. Apparently, he was walking through the mix zone afterwards, and he said, "If I speak, there'll be fire."
Which very cool quote, by the way.
Yeah, pretty hard quote. Of course, he asked Klopp afterwards, like, "What did you say?" As if he's going to answer. But I guess you got to ask these questions,
Yeah. We've only got 3 more weeks left of him. Let's poke him a few more times.
Yeah, maybe he will say, but he's leaving. What's he got to lose?
Hey, what did Salah say to you?
What did you say there when you were clearly snapping and losing the rag there? What kicked that off? Was it your fault, his fault? He said, "Matter's done, matter's finished. It's all good." It's definitely not all good.
It's not all good, and that was confirmed when I think that Salah quote came after the Klopp press conference.
Yeah, it's settled. We're all good. I got no issues with him. He's my boy. We speak every day, that kind of thing.
If I speak, I'm going to kill.
Yeah. It's in one way for Liverpool fans. If you think of, say, when Ferguson left, went on a high, this team could probably win the Champions League next year. That's what people were saying.
Worst thing that can happen to you.
Or you look at the Wenger end, which was worse than this, to be fair. I mean, they won a trophy this year. They were in they're still in the league. I mean, I know it might be gone, but mathematically they're still in it. The FA Cup, they were in the quarterfinal of, was it?
Quarterfinal, yeah.
Versus Wenger's last year, like, it's not the same. But I mean, I guess the sentiment is like, oh, maybe it's time to go. I think people look at this kind of beleaguered Klopp in press conferences, fighting with players. Some of the signings maybe haven't worked. Like, maybe Szoboszlai was good at the start, but maybe it's not great. There's maybe a sense like maybe he is tired, maybe he does need a break. I think they're in between the two, the Ferguson and the Wenger thing. I think they might be in a good position. That's the only thing I'll say for Liverpool fans, that maybe this is the best thing. It doesn't seem the best thing. Obviously, you'd love to see them win the quadruple and right off in the sunset, but think of the next year. Think of how you're going to top that. This is good. There's still good players there. It's toppable, but it's not like, oh, well, you'll never be as good as Klopp,
Yeah, I think they'll have a lot more leeway with the next manager now than they would have if this was a dream season where everything went right. Now it's like, Arne Slot will have a lot of rope, I think, next season. And they'll be like, look, it's a process. We'll get there. Yeah. At least Salah doesn't want to fight him. That's nice.
Well, that's the question. Will Salah even be there?
There was a few reports coming out today that Liverpool are like, yep, we're not selling Salah. No way. They're planning to have him in the team next season. But I was thinking after watching him over last week's and that, I was like, this seems like cash in time to me. This doesn't seem like doubling down and he's going to turn it around. Sometimes this just happens with players where it's just like they're at like the top level, boop, and then they never really get back to it. Do you know what I mean?
It could be, but again, looking back on do my own personal fail comp for Raya, or trying to find a fail comp for Raya, the goal he scored against Arsenal earlier on this season was an absolute screamer. Do you know what I mean? Now he skipped around Zinchenko and more or less kind of demoted him out of the Arsenal team for the rest of the year. But I mean, it's not like he doesn't have it anymore. Doesn't have the pace. Like say, he came on that game and nearly got a breaker, ran right through the West Ham defence. Like, he still has pace. He can still finish. It's not like he can't do it. I mean, Gary Neville made the comparison of Son a couple of years ago, where he looked like he was done. It's like, the legs are gone. He's not linking up with Kane anymore. And, certain things change, certain players leave. And now Son's the captain, and now he's scoring all the goals to them. So I mean, and okay, you look at that and say, well, are Tottenham as good as they were? No. So maybe it is a good example in that he's not necessarily finished, but it is a good time to cash in. I just think I said that about Granit Xhaka, and now look what he's done to me.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, for fear of that happening, no team should ever cash in on any player. You never know how good they're going to be next year.
No, the only thing that you might say is that normally for a 31, but soon to be 32-year-old, the cash in is like maybe 10, 15 million, whereas in another year, it might be nothing, because once you get over 30, you fall off a cliff. But because of Salah's religion and status in that part of the world, Saudi Arabia could be very lucrative for whatever team signs him, and also Liverpool, because that would be a huge star for them. It'd be like, an Irish team managing to sign Evan Ferguson.
Yeah.
Having somebody that good in your league is like, this is what we want to see, local boy done good kind of thing. So that's the only thing that might persuade Liverpool. The other thing is, does Salah want to leave kind of top end football? I mean, Saudi Arabia's option, of course, but if he does leave Liverpool and wants to go to somewhere else, would for example, PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, would they take him at this age at the wages that he'd probably want?
I think maybe a few years ago, yeah. I think big teams were a lot more reckless for a while there. But it seems like everyone's calmed down, and it's a great thing for the sport probably, but not a great thing for the transfer windows. It seems like everyone's kind of boring and like, no, he's too old, and no, we'll get the young guy in. Yeah. Even like from Madrid to PSG, they're all at it. So I don't think he has the options now that he probably did 3 or 4 seasons ago, where every team would have gone, we'll give you 100 million as Salah, for God's sake.
Yeah. That's Mo Salah. Yeah. Because they signed Juve. That was always a good place for players of that age to extend their careers. You go on there and they'd give you a pasta or whatever, and people are like, whoa, this is great. This is way better than drinking and smoking. I feel like I've got 10 years back. Maybe everyone's kind of caught up to the sports science has caught up to the Italian lifestyle,
Yeah.
But I mean, they signed Ronaldo a couple of years ago, which is a different kettle of fish as well. Even to someone like Salah, who is, in great shape and all that. But yeah, it used to be one week ago for a while, but I think you'd probably have to do less wages. That's the only thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm nearly sure, didn't he just sign a big new contract like not too long ago? So yeah, it's probably going to be a nightmare to get that maneuvered.
It's a good, yeah. So I think that's probably his options. It's stay on, give the new manager a go on the wages, Saudi Arabia, or go somewhere else for like, a cut price kind of a deal, and also less wages as well. Of course, if he stays longer with Liverpool and extends, he might be subject to a salary cap, Will.
Yeah, we've talked about before how the Premier League should learn from the NBA. We want halftime shows. We want all-star games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they took a different meaning from that, and they're voting on, or I think it's been passed.
Yeah.
It's been passed that they're bringing in a de facto salary cap, which will anchor the maximum permitted spending of any club to a multiple of what the lowest earning side receives via broadcast deals. So basically, whatever the Lutons of the league get, times 4.5, that's how much the top clubs are allowed to spend. The Athletic very helpfully did up a little graph where they showed what it would look like if this was in place last season, where the salary cap would have been £518 million, which every team would have been under, except for, can you guess, Kyle?
Fulham. Fulham pay big wages, I hear.
No, it's the £1 billion bottle jobs. Chelsea, they spent £539 million on salary last year.
£1 billion bottle jobs sounds familiar. That's not the real name, though, is it?
No, Chelsea FC. Oh, Cole Palmer FC.
Cole Palmer FC. Sorry, I did. I didn't know who you're talking about. Chelsea. Sorry, is that their old name? Is that like a Victorian kind of name for the club? I don't know. Probably before the money. So
they're looking to bring this in. It says here, unsurprisingly, the idea is far more popular with clubs further down the revenue table, as they see it as a way to stop the league's biggest earners outspending them at an ever-expanding rate.
Yeah. You mentioned the graph there. I thought that was quite interesting, though, that say this, that was based on last year, is that only team above it is Chelsea, which everyone at the time's like, wow, they're spending a lot of money. Whoa, they're big contracts
Man
for
City,
players.
Man United, totally under the salary cap.
Yeah, like Arsenal have spent a lot of money on transfers over the last few years, like of Declan Rice, and I mean, you know, a few other players. They're nowhere near it. Do you know what I mean? So I mean,
exactly.
Does it really make any odds? Is the question. You know,
It seems like another kind of like FFP, where it's brought in to save the clubs from themselves rather than to keep the league competitive. It's just to stop a Chelsea spending £5 billion next year, and then things go wrong and they end up going bankrupt. That's what they don't want.
Yeah, it's certainly not for competitiveness, I don't think. But I mean, like in the NBA, like you said, they pay a luxury tax when you go over it. So
yes,
that would be terrible for the likes of Man City, because they could just, you know, oh, we got another sponsor there. It's all good. So I mean, I don't think it's going to make much odds for competitiveness. And I know I'm joking there, but I mean, I don't think that the top earners would actually be affected by it at all, by the current standings of it. So
no. It's interesting here as well. It says, who's against it is the sub headline.
Yeah.
And it says, Man United are one of the clubs who push back against the proposal, citing what they believe would be a negative impact on the competitiveness of the league.
Yeah. No, they are one of those teams like in that zone of like, we're still Man United, but they'd have to pay a bit more to get players to come. So, I mean,
they pay for the privilege to be Man United. Whereas like Man City, I'm sure there's all kind of things off the books, like you mentioned, but everyone knows Man United's thing is the wages are insane.
Yeah.
Like Anthony's on fucking 200 grand a week, Rashford's on 350 grand a week, all this. For a while there, De Gea was the highest paid goalkeeper on the So it's I could see why they would be like, oh, please don't bring this in, because I think what it essentially means for United is they have to get rid of all these players and start over with a fresh wage scheme or wage structure.
Yeah, well, they'd be in it currently, but as we've seen over the last 2 summers, you know, inflation can happen. You know,
yeah, exactly.
500 million seems like a lot to say, and like it's the whole thing. It's the ever widening gap, you know, between Sheffield and Man City. It's like, you know, next year that gap could be even more. So 4.5 times that. Maybe now you're outside the limit. So yeah, it's all good last year and this year, but I mean, in 3 years' time, maybe it isn't. So I mean, yeah, it would be bad if your strategy is outspend the competition to get, you know, mediocre players to come, which again, maybe it is good for the clubs to save them from themselves if that's what their strategy is.
Yeah, and like this is from last season, where like the 3 clubs that got, like some of the clubs that got relegated, like Southampton, like there's big clubs, Leeds.
Yeah.
So like Leeds are halfway up this table, but obviously got relegated.
Yeah.
Whereas in a season like this year, where you have Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield, I would assume the 3 of them are not making as much money as a Southampton and Leeds are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it means, I'm assuming season by season, the cap could drop pretty drastically. Like,
yeah.
So you really have to plan ahead. You can't just be like, we're $1 million under it, lads. We don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just for the sake of it, if there was like a game-changing salary cap in it, where like players are now, I mean, that's another issue. It's the PFA are like, you're going to try and pay us less. I mean, we're the labor, you know.
Yeah.
This is why everyone,
more games, less pay, interesting.
yeah, this is why everyone's having a union, because you know there is power in it. But you know, like they're that might be one stumbling block to it. But just say, for I would say, it goes full like NFL, where the quarterback gets paid all the money, and then the I don't know what they're called, the blockers, the corners, I don't know, the ones who get all the CTE, they get no money at all. their career lasts 3 years. Like, just say the right back now is making £200 a week, and you know, Mo Salah is making whatever, or Kevin De Bruyne is making, you know, who would benefit the most? What's the best run clubs? Who do you think would benefit from this?
It's like, you would think in theory it should be like the Brightons of the world, the Aston Villas,
and Villa,
who are like well run, Brentford, clubs like that.
Yeah,
but I think really it's going to be, who are the most evil clubs who like hide all their money. They're really like Man City are gonna, like, there's no way they're under that salary cap from last year, because you remember the whole thing of Haaland being he's on 300 grand a week or whatever, but then he's like, and also he's paying like 800 grand in sponsorships and all this.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Klopp came out and said when all the clubs were trying to sign Haaland, he was like, no, it is impossible for Liverpool to afford to sign that man. And then City got him for 50 million and 300 grand a week. It's like, well, there's obviously something going on.
Yeah, well, the 50 million was the buyout clause, to be fair. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. There is maybe something with wages. And it's as well, it's like endorsements, opportunities by playing with City is going to be, because you're going to be in the later stages and stuff. But I know what you mean. But City are pretty well run. That's what they did first. They get the youth system and all that ready to go. I think they do pretty well. I think someone like Man United would not do well in this situation. If you were like, you can't just spend your way out of this, they might be in big trouble. And
it looks like it's funny because that came out today, and then about 2 hours later, another article came out where it said, Man United open to selling all players, including Marcus Rashford. So yeah, I think as soon as they heard this was coming in, they started putting the plans in motion to like, fuck, get them all out.
I think so too. I think they went, okay, just in case this does happen, and this is, I mean, maybe we should have a look at how we're doing things here for the last, 10 years.
Yeah, I think Man United are blessed that they managed to get new ownership in just in time, because I think if they had the same lads running it over the last few years, this would be the end of Manchester United.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably saw this coming down the tracks as well, so maybe they knew about this and then maybe it's time to sell. But this seems to, maybe it's unrelated. I mean, obviously, we mentioned there at the top of the show that they're Man United now out of the top four. I mean, look, it's not, we have been saying that it is kind of a Sky Sports propaganda thing to promote the league. It was like the race for top four. It's not really great. And if you just qualify for top four, and like to what? Like not have a chance next year? What's really the point? Shouldn't it be about the process and the performances? But nevertheless, it would be nice for the fans to be in Champions League,
It's just like, it's confirmation that for at least next season, we still matter. That's what it really means, I think. Obviously, the money is a big thing, but I think to the fans and just like the perception of the club, to be playing in the Champions League, it's like, hey, we can't be that bad. We're in the Champions League, Yeah,
and if that might be delusion, but I don't think it was Man United or the players or Ten Hag saying like, no, let's lose this game. Let's not give our fans any delusion. Maybe we need this. They went out to try and win that at home against struggling Burnley, and they probably should have. They were in control of the game, 1-0 up. Anthony scored a goal, and it was funny. It was like, I don't know who was commenting, because I felt the same way. It was like the player that you don't like scores a goal. It's like, that wasn't good. So, I mean, all right,
he's fallen over.
He read it well, and that was actually a good fit. But like, he's not good. I don't care. He's not good. Like. It was crazy to see him finish really well under pressure. And then just the way he celebrated, like, look at Guerrero's. I was like, Anthony's first goal of the season. I was like, come on, this is worse than anything Nani ever did,
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like remember when Holland scored, it was like relief. You could see in his face, like, oh, finally got this monkey off my back. He was like, yeah, name on the back of the shirt. Remember the name. Anyways, they're winning. They're going to win it. And then Onana, I think probably the one player that will stay, a leader on this team, said, I know what Ten Hag wants. He wants exciting, edge of the seat football. And he comes out and absolutely cleans one of the Burnley players in the box, nowhere near the ball. Was it this year or was it start of last year he did this against Wolves?
Start of this year.
It was this year. God.
That was this year, yeah. He's only been here since August. He feels like he's been here 5 lifetimes.
So that shows his progression as a goalkeeper under pressure, calm under pressure. I mean, just needless. This time he didn't get away with this, and VAR came out and gave a penalty. Didn't save it. Now it's 1-1. Now it's exciting. Now it's edge of the seat. Now they got to get a winner.
Phew. I was almost relaxed there for watching this game.
On top of the 6 other saves that he made, I mean, Burnley, if they do go down, this is probably part of the reason. I mean, they created no chance there. They could have got the winner there, and they didn't. And I mean, I thought like that's kind of a funny bit, but then I saw Ten Hag coming off the game, and he said this.
But every team gives up opportunity. But when it's up to us, then it's weird. but we're creating loads of chances as well. And I think we are one of the most dynamics and entertaining teams in the league in this moment by creating loads of chances, by playing good football. Yeah, we concede also.
He's using it as a badge of honor. He thinks it's a good thing, Will.
It's so annoying. It's mad. Like, again, I've said this a few times now, but a few weeks ago, it clicked with me. It's like, no, he has to go. Actually, this is bad.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I hate him. Everything he says drives me up the wall. You can't be saying that. That's literally the biggest criticism of this club at the moment.
You want to buy a ticket for Premier League team, who are you buying for? Man United, that too. You're going to get goals.
They're probably going to fuck it up at any second. That's what he's saying.
You're not going to see slow, suffocating football at Old Trafford. No. Not even against Burnley. No, it's going to be edge of your seat stuff. I mean, I say this, they beat Everton in similar fashion where they couldn't score. It was just that madness from Onana where he came out and just needlessly just panicked. Like there was a panicked kind of, I better come out and punch something. And it happens to be the head of a Burnley player. So yeah, then the news comes out that every single player is for sale. It's whoever's looked at this and the whole like salary cap, you go, why are we paying these lads? Like that's literally what the reaction is. Like, why are we paying any of them? Even Rashford, yeah, I said it.
That's so funny in the headline, including Rashford this time.
Maybe even especially Rashford.
Because I was shocked when I saw that article, but even when I saw it, I was like, can they do that? Like it just felt like that was never an option. They could just get rid of these lads. Of course, they should have done this years ago.
Yeah, also not a good tactic for selling a player. They're all for sale, and then
we want them all out at any price.
So someone comes in to buy someone like Maguire or whatever, and like, well, we don't really want to sell him. It's like, I saw the article, man. I mean,
I saw the article after the salary cap thing. I know what's going on.
The jig is up when that comes out.
Hey,
so.
Don't worry, we're not trying to buy Garnacho, Meno, or Holland. We saw that. But everyone else, what's your price?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like another Man United leak. One of these classic leaks that they do that just undermines everything they're trying to do with the club. But for their season, Will, I mean, obviously it's not going to be top four. It's not going to be the league. Still in the FA Cup.
Still in the FA Cup. So if they can still finish sixth or fifth, or obviously lower. So they can still get Europa League through the league. Or if they win the FA Cup, they also get Europa League football. What a bonus.
Yeah, it's something. Where do you think it's going to end with Ten Hag? Is it going to end in the summer? Are you going to see him at the helm next season?
I think it's over after the FA Cup final.
Really?
And it could be one where I think he could get Van Gaal.
Oh, you can't again.
No, I don't know. I don't think it'll be as harsh as the Van. I don't think he'll get a text while he's walking up to the trophy.
I mean, that is Van Gaal. That means getting sacked after winning. I don't know who that is, but a text on camera is very specific and very hurtful. And yeah, I mean, I guess if it happened to Ten Hag, it'd be one thing. I mean, not that anybody really deserves that, but Louis van Gaal definitely didn't deserve that. I mean, imagine his touch.
That was a rotten moment of the club.
That was a low point, really. Everything else was like, whatever, bad players, bad choices. That was just classless. I mean,
texting him and essentially texting him, being like, I'm sure he didn't say it in the text, but the text essentially was, you're sacked. Jose Mourinho's free. This is going to be class.
It's like when, you walk into the kitchen and there's like, you leave maybe dishes out on the sink or something. And then you go into your room and your houseman texts and go, can you clean those dishes? You were there I was out in the kitchen a second ago. You could have just said it to me. Like,
you're a
coward. Make this weird thing, I'm not gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you, am I? Are you scared of me? That is probably something that Van Gaal would do. If you were Van Gaal's housemate, you maybe would text him. Like, I'm not gonna say it to him. I'm not gonna say it to him. I'll just text him.
You see him fall over when I was talking to him last week.
He would be a gaslighter for sure in a relationship. 100%. Let me see your phone. Let me see your phone then. Towering over you. I never said that. No, anyways.
Well, yeah, I think it's over for Ten Hag one way or another after the FA Cup, and probably one way rather than the other. I don't think we're going to win that game. But just judging from the press conferences. I think that's the real telltale sign of how long a manager has left and the pressure, what kind of things the board are telling them. Because he was, I wouldn't say cool, calm, collected, but he used to just give nothing in press conferences. He was just, he'd like give the most basic answers, get it over with. And now he's like explaining himself and he's like saying things like, hey, you can't be criticizing, fans would do well to remember Man United in 03, 04. They were terrible then too. And look what they went on to do. It's like that. All you're doing when you say things like that is, this guy was looking up seasons Man United were bad to compare him to.
He was trying to make a fail comp, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's fair enough. We have Champions League coming up. I mean, it's probably going to come out today, this episode. So tonight, Champions League tonight and Wednesday. We've got Europa League as well. And also Chelsea play Tottenham in a game that hasn't meant so little in so long, I don't think, for both clubs.
But I have a funny feeling if I know Chelsea Tottenham, they're going to kick lumps out of each other for some reason.
I think it's usually a good game, but this one feels maybe a bit too late in the season, maybe. With let's play for it. Maybe it won't be anything, but we'll be covering that along with what are the games?
PSG and
Dortmund
and Bayern and
Real Madrid.
Yeah.
As you can see, folks, we have our finger on the pulse of this Champions League showdown.
Too many games. They're all melded together in my head.
I'll give you €500 if you can name the Europa League semi-finals.
Oh, okay. Atalanta are playing. Leverkusen are playing. I have no idea who the other side, or if they're playing each other, or who's on the other side of that bracket.
And we'll be covering it all. Atlanta versus Mystery Team A and Leverkusen versus Mystery Team B.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed about that question, but you thought obviously it's good. I enjoy every day of it. We're giving our supporters some joy and some belief and some hope.
You know, there's no law. There's no one's going to die.
Yeah, bin it, mate. Just bin the whole idea. Just forget about it.